Welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast. Welcome, Jaime, to the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. We were introed by my good friend Alyssa Lang, the workflow queen, recently, and I'm just super excited to collaborate with you. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, Serena, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, with you and Alyssa, it's funny. When I reached out to Alyssa, I was like, hey, I don't know if you know me, but I know you and we're in the same circles. Like, should we connect? And she said the same thing. She's like, yeah, it's weird. I don't think we've ever met, but like, I know who you are. It's funny how
Yeah,
we just kind of are in the same circles, but it's good to meet you and be part of this the podcast with you. So thank you so much for having me.
yeah, absolutely. So for anyone listening, this is Jaime Rodriguez, and you are the CEO of Bookkeeper Launch. Is Bookkeeper Launch the name of the company, or is bookkeepers.com the name of the company?
Yeah, good question. There's been a switch over the last 4 years, I think. The name of the company is bookkeepers.com, and then under bookkeepers.com are courses. So Bookkeeper Launch is just a course now. It's not the name of the company, but yeah,
Okay.
most people
Yeah, I've
know it as
always,
Bookkeeper Launch.
yeah, exactly. That's definitely like the front-facing thing, but you guys have a lot going on over there. So, and we'll get into that for sure. But for anyone who is new to this world, who might be interested in starting their bookkeeping business, bookkeepers.com is definitely one of the places to go. So give us a little background of like how you got to where you're at running bookkeepers.com, because you're not the original founder, you're now the CEO. So give us a little rundown of like how you got into accounting, bookkeeping, and what, prompted you to become involved in educating the space.
Yeah, so going back, I went to school for accounting because I thought accounting is going to be one of those for sure jobs. I have no problem finding a job, and I didn't. I had no problem finding a job, thankfully. At that time, thankfully I say at the time, but now I'm like, ugh, that was the worst, like the worst time of my life. But I found a job, and I think 2 years into the job, it took that long to realize, is this American dream that was sold to me as a millennial is not true. Like, there's no way that I'm doing this for the next 40 years where I am commute between my commute and the actual time spent in the office. I'm out of the house from 7 a.m. till about 8 p.m. It took 2 years for me to realize there's no way I'm doing this. Like, this is insane. This is insanity. And not to mention, I'm barely making enough to make rent at that time. So what I did is I was like, how can I make money? And at that time, I was working for a law firm, and somebody that I shared an office with actually told me like, hey, you should start a bookkeeping business. And I'd never thought of something like that. I was like, well, that's really weird. I thought I could only do the books for one company, like my employer. And so I Googled how to start a bookkeeping business, found Bookkeeper Launch, and I purchased it. I purchased the course, I should say, and I went through it, started my business. And then within less than a year, I had made my return on the investment on the actual course. And then within 2 years, I had probably more than doubled what I was making at that law firm. Now, what I did, I went all in. I quit my job before I was making any money and just said, hey, I'm going to move back in with my parents and do all, just go all in, just dive straight into this. And in my mind, I was like, I can't fail. I have to do this. And so 2019, I get brought in with Bookkeeper Launch. They were looking for some coaches, and I applied. I was like, hey, I'll make a little extra money as a coach and also still run my bookkeeping business. And I seemed to really enjoy that. I realized that that was way more fulfilling than the actual bookkeeping. And so whenever the position opened up to work full time with bookkeepers.com, I took it. And then fast forward to like 2023, I re-recorded a lot of the lessons. And so naturally, I kind of became the face of the company, not on purpose, not at least it wasn't my intent. Maybe it was Ben Robinson's intent, who's the founder, but it wasn't mine. And
Yeah.
then in 2024, he appointed me as CEO, and then 2025, I bought the company. So
Okay.
it's been a whirlwind over the
Yeah.
last 7 or 8, 9 years.
Wow. That's, I love number one, the fact that you like burned the boats, like just
Yeah.
went all in on your business and were able to double what you were making at the law firm within a couple years. I think that's really awesome. Do you think you would have been able to achieve that if you hadn't just gone all in? Do you think it would have happened
Yeah.
that quickly?
Like if I had the safety nets, I'd like to say that I would eventually get there, but not as fast.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was blessed enough to be able to have those resources to go back to my parents and not pay rent. I did
Mhm.
have enough saved for about 3 months worth of like my expenses because I still had a car note, and then I had to pay for my own groceries. I wasn't totally leeching off my parents, but I wasn't paying rent. But no,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have made it. Not as fast. Eventually, I would have, I think, but not in 2 years.
Yeah. There's something about being able to focus 100% on the one thing so that like it eliminates the distraction, the other stresses,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it adds a layer of a different kind of stress of like,
Yeah.
now I have to make this work.
Yeah, a little
Uh,
urgency.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like as accountants, like because you went into this profession because you know of the job security, you still like there's always a thing in the back of your mind that like, okay, I'm just going to go all in, but even if it doesn't work out, I know I can get a job.
Right. And that's what I thought. I was like, at that, I was 27 at the time. And I thought, you know what? Like, if this really doesn't work, I can find a job somewhere, at least to make ends meet. And I may not be the happiest, but I'll survive.
Yeah. It's that like I have to know, I have to show myself and just give it a try because if I don't, I'm gonna regret not doing it. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things like you've got to just try it however you can, whether it is as a side hustle or going all in. Like if you have that desire and know that there's a possibility for you because you can see all of us doing it.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna regret not trying. So you may as well just go for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think it's if there's even an ounce of you that thinks that this is something you can do, you should give it a shot. You're never going to find the right time. Like everybody has obstacles, and you're always going to think about like, well, once this is done, or once I get all my ducks in a row, then I'll go and go all in and do this. But the truth is, we're never truly ready. Heck, I still have my bookkeeping business, and I still feel like there's times where I'm like, I still feel stumped, right? It still
Mhm.
happens. So you never truly feel like it's the right time.
Yeah. It's like we never truly feel like we're grown-ups. We never truly feel like we're ready to have kids. And it's like if we all waited until we felt ready, no one would ever do anything.
Exactly. No, yeah, absolutely.
So now that you are CEO of bookkeepers.com, like what has shifted in your bookkeeping business? I didn't realize you still had yours. So this is an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
like little side quest we're going to go on now. So what's changed in the way that you run your business or like how have you managed both? This is a question people always ask me, so
Yeah.
I'm like excited to ask this question of someone else.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's funny because now what started as bookkeeping was that was my main source of income, and bookkeepers.com was like my side gig, right? I was a bookkeeper first and the coach second. And that has totally shifted to where now bookkeepers.com is my primary focus. It's my main source of income, and now my bookkeeping business is my side gig now.
Mhm.
And it's in 2019 when I came full time with bookkeepers.com. I took that job knowing that I was going to have to go all in with this job and either automate, delegate, or remove a lot of the things that I was doing because I was still spending a lot of time in my bookkeeping business. So in 2019, I hired help, and thankfully, I did some things right. As a business owner, you do so many things wrong, but I think all it takes is one right thing for it to really help, or for you to be able to take off. And I did enough right where I hired the right people that asked the right questions and really forced me to have my workflows because I didn't have them before. And instead of giving somebody like, hey, here's a bunch of books, go and complete them on a month-to-month basis and meet with the clients, the right people that I hired came to me and would say, hey, how do you want this done? And I couldn't be mad about it, right? Because I didn't give them the right direction. But that forced me to have directions and forced me to have SOPs, which I didn't have before. And now every task that we have SOPs for. Now, I was still spending quite a bit of time with my business, not as much. And when I say quite a bit, I'm thinking maybe 20 hours a month on the bookkeeping business, but it was still like 18 hours more than I wanted to spend.
Yeah.
And so whenever I got appointed as CEO, that's when I was like, okay, I don't have the time for this. And I let go of a lot of clients that just last year, and in fact, we're still letting go of clients now. So it's not something that I don't want to discourage people to think like you can't do two things at once. I think I can't dedicate and give 100% to two things at once. So I
Right.
do. I plan on still keeping the bookkeeping business for now, but I am keeping only the clients that do not have direct access to me or the ones that we have automated in some way, shape, or form. And so now I'm spending probably 30 minutes a month on the
Okay.
clients, and it's still profitable, which is good for me. And it's creating jobs. We have a great staff that does our bookkeeping for our bookkeeping firm, and that for me was enough, like to keep it. I didn't want to completely shut the business down. I think that was probably the number one reason why I didn't want to is the jobs that it has created. I'd hate for anybody to lose that. So I've been able to keep it in, but it's the workflow. So if you go back to what is it that's actually managing this and allowing this to happen is the fact that we have workflows and we have something set up to where this can be done and me take a week-long vacation, 2 week-long vacation, and the business is still running.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you found that it's helpful for you to still have your bookkeeping firm in the work that you're doing with bookkeepers.com?
Not really, actually. I
Okay.
think it actually, to be honest, I feel like it almost, even the 30 minutes that it takes me a month, it's like 30 more minutes than I want to be spending.
Right.
So I don't, and it's funny, like you mentioned Alyssa earlier in the intro, and Alyssa's somebody that I talked to about that because it's not one of those things where I feel like I have to have one either, but I don't think it helps either. I don't think it has helped with bookkeepers.com because I think we have our pulse on a lot of great businesses. And we have, like, for example, we've had about 18,000 students go through the course, and we have a really good group of people, and we get a pulse on like what is needed,
Right.
that what little, suggestion I could have for my business, it doesn't compare to the thousands of people that are screaming, saying, hey, the industry needs this or it needs that, or it doesn't need this or that. So I don't think it's really helped from that perspective.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. And it can be almost a hindrance if you do use it that way, because then you're spending time fiddling with things you normally wouldn't have. Because I found that with myself is like,
Yeah.
because I do still run my firm and I don't do any of the bookkeeping for any of our clients, and only like one or two clients have access to me. But there are times when I'm like, I see my firm as a playground of like, I could figure this out and then teach about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm spending the time on things that I should not be spending time on. That
Yeah.
normally, if I wasn't also trying to maybe create a YouTube video or something like that to educate, this is not something that I would even be doing. Someone else on my team would be handling it. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's that balance of like, okay, is this actually going to be helpful for me to piddle with, or
Yeah.
should I just delegate it and talk about something else on my YouTube channel?
Yeah, yeah. And there's so much like client sensitivity in those in the book. So it's like you can't even record. Anytime that I'm recording anything with QuickBooks, I'm like, well, I can't use my client's data. So I just get a clean set of books every time. And here I go with I have my go-to Better Call Saul is my go-to company that I always create and upload fake stuff to and start teaching in. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really help.
Yeah. So, okay, this is very interesting to have this conversation. And I've talked about this at length with Alyssa as well, but yeah. So, and then there's the aspect of even if you're not involved in the firm at all, you're still ultimately the one responsible. So having
Yeah.
that weight and that like
Oh
uh,
yeah.
just invisible load, I guess, if you will, of knowing like there's still this team you've got to take care of, this business and all of that. It does make sense that even 30 minutes. And I've done the analysis on my own time. I always feel like my firm actually takes more time than it really does. When I looking at my time tracking, I'm like, wow, it feels like I spent more time on my firm than I did, but it's
Yeah.
because of that invisible
Yeah.
responsibility.
It's heavy, like you definitely feel it. And if you're spending 30 minutes on it, you're usually spending 30 minutes as a business owner. You're not categorizing transactions, you're not reconciling a bank account. You're doing
Bigger
like
step.
bigger stuff. You're really using your brain where like within 30 minutes you're like I've had enough of this, right? So
Yeah.
I totally see that. Like why 30 minutes would feel like 3 hours.
Yeah. So, for those that are listening and they are newer and maybe they don't have a team yet and they want to get to this point where they're like kind of starting to think about removing themselves, like at what point did you hire in your firm and start delegating a lot of this stuff? Because you started your firm from scratch, right?
From scratch, yep. So I first started with a virtual assistant, and this is always tricky because I've seen, I've gotten advice from other bookkeepers like, what can your virtual assistant do? Some of them will have them do a little bookkeeping if they have a bookkeeping background. I didn't have a virtual assistant that actually helped me with any of that. So it was mostly helping me just stay consistent on social media, checking my emails, and then I would get like easy, just very easy emails where like my clients asking me for a report on like payroll, like, hey, when can you give me a report on all the last raises we gave to people? I didn't need to be in that, so my virtual assistant could go into the payroll software and pull that report, send it to them. Any kind of random reports like that that she could handle, she would, and then anything that she couldn't would go to me. That was my very first hire. I think it was the right hire because it was somebody that was working full time. It was somebody. It was exactly what I needed, just enough to, I guess, dip my toes into this and hiring somebody and managing someone. So it was. I think if you're looking to hire for the first time, find those repetitive tasks that you almost feel like you like anybody can handle. Like and like it might seem like there aren't a lot of those, but if you really start to analyze what you do on a week to week basis, you'll realize how many of those tasks can really be taken up by somebody else that you don't have to pay 40 hours a week for. Like
Right.
my virtual assistant, I think we're paying her somewhere around like 10 hours for every 2 weeks. I think that's what it was. I think I was paying her biweekly, and it was about 10 hours at most.
Yeah.
So it can totally be affordable. And then the next step is hiring a bookkeeper. But I guess before that, you really do have to have your processes. And I know, sorry, I'm sure you have like listeners here that say, well, they'll listen to what we're saying, where we're talking about how rough it is to work 30 minutes a month on this, and it might sound like, wow, I just wish I could get there. But you get there by having those processes. I mean, it just doesn't get, you can't get around that. That is the number one thing you have to have. Even if you have one client right now, I would say like record your processes, make it easier on you, because if you wait till you have 5, 10 clients, you're just never going to do them, which is
Yeah.
honestly what I did. I waited too long before I started recording processes. I hired somebody, and that hire is who really pushed me and said, I need instructions on how to do this. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, of course you do.
The other thing that I've realized happens with that when you don't have processes, even just if you're solo by yourself and you have 3 or 4 clients and you don't have your process documented, it creates the opportunity for you to take on too much different stuff
Yeah.
that then is harder to streamline because you're just like used to opening up the QuickBooks file and figuring it out every month as you go. And that enables you to just like take on clients in all sorts of different industries with totally different processes, and you don't even realize it. Whereas if you establish and start recording your first client's process as you go, when you look at bringing on another client, you're going to subconsciously figure out, does this client fit in the process that I have? Or am I going to have to go out of,
Yeah.
learn something new, learn a different software, create a new process around this? And it's like I said, it's like on a subconscious level, you might not even realize that you're creating these guardrails for yourself and future team when you do that, but it's going to create a lot more efficiency.
Yeah, yeah. And it's gotten so much easier to create these processes now. Like whenever I first started recording these, I was literally starting a Zoom meeting by myself where, just so that I could record myself and record what I was doing on video. And then I would take my video, send it to rev.com so they can pull a transcript, and I would pay for that. They would send me a transcript, and then I would pull that transcript, create an outline, and say, this is my process. All that can be done within like 5 minutes at most now. Like it's so
Yeah.
fast now. So there,
All
there's
built
no,
into the tools.
yeah, yeah. Like now I use Loom for it, and Loom's AI is I love their AI. It doesn't matter whether you use Loom or whatever. There's so many different apps. It just depends which one you like better and how they do it. But for Loom, I mean, you just record and there's literally a button called SOP. You press that button and it pulls it. I mean, it's amazing. So if
That's
there's ever
awesome.
a time to do it, not you can do it now. It's so easy to do it.
I know it's so much easier now. I remember the days in corporate when we would take screenshots and do the little circles and the arrows and like
Oh
have
my
to edit
goodness.
photos and then drop it in a Word doc. And then like we actually printed this crap out. I'm not even joking. We had binders. I'm like,
Oh,
you
I can
can't tell me it's
imagine.
easy these days.
Oh gosh, I can only imagine like a 5-inch binder with like the just instructions on how to do things. And now
Yeah.
that 5-inch binder, you could probably recreate that within minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible the technology that we have. Some of it's for good, some of it's not great, but it's all right. But this using AI for SOPs, I will always stand behind that one.
But yeah, yeah. There's just it's game changing. It's made everything so much easier from that perspective. I love what you said, Serena, with like it keeps these guardrails where if you have these SOPs, that gives you something to think about when you're meeting a prospect, whether if you take on this client, are they going to then, is this going to require you to create a new process? And if the answer is yes, now you have to weigh whether that's worth it to you. Um, do you really want to create that process for this new industry, for this new client? Or do they just fit right into the processes you have now? Because now that if you can do that, I mean, that just makes your life easier. It'll make your team's life easier. I think that's a wonderful way to just really measure whether this is a client you really want to continue to work with.
Yeah, that's one thing that I realized once I hired, because my first hire was a bookkeeper, not a VA. So I brought someone in to help with bookkeeping almost right away when I had like 5 clients. Even though I only had 5 clients, all those 5 clients, 2 were on QBO, one or two were on Zero, and then one was on Buildium or something. It was a like a real estate,
Yeah,
totally like
yeah.
obscure thing. And so we had 3 different month-end processes because of we
Wow.
had 3 different softwares.
Yeah.
And every time I brought on a new client, I would do them first and create the process and then hand
Mhm.
it over and train my bookkeeper. And that is so inefficient.
Because the bad thing is you're only closing once a month.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about you creating a process, you're doing the books for at least 1 month by
Yeah.
yourself before you hand it over. And in most cases, if you're like me, and I say that because I did the exact same thing as you, I'm like, let me figure it out. Once I figure it out, then I'll give the process to my staff. And if you're like me, like after 1 month, I'd be like, I'm not really ready to hand this off yet. Let me wait another month. And now I've been doing the bookkeeping for 3 months for
Yep.
this client before I'm like, all right, now I'm ready to hand this over. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. 100%. That's what I did. And like the other thing too is especially when you add different softwares and everyone knows if they listen to the podcast, I'm a huge Zero fan. Bookkeeper Launch covers everything in QBO. I don't care what you use, just pick one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Pick
We
one,
we have
specialize in it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like whichever one you like, right? Like and I'm the same way. We teach in QuickBooks because it's just the leader in the space right
Yeah.
now.
It's the most widely
If
used.
Zero takes over, we'll probably go back to Zero too. But it's just pick one. We have students that have gone through the course and they say, hey, you know what? Forget Zero, forget QuickBooks. I'm going to go to Zoho Books, and they'll do that. And
Oh,
there's
I had a
way
plan
there's
on that
yeah.
too.
Did you?
At the beginning, I was like, what was the other one that I was on? That one.
Yeah. Zoho
I
Books,
had
yeah.
4 different bookkeeping softwares initially.
Oh my
Huh.
goodness.
You live and you learn.
Yeah, yeah.
And not to mention, every single client was in a different industry. So I'm not saying that you can't start out that way. you'll learn a lot of different things, and then you'll learn what you like and who you like
Yeah.
to work with. But you also, if you know you don't want to have the learning curve and you
Yeah.
want to just be able to hit the ground running, then do that. And one thing I've like, it took me a while to draw the line in the sand and like put my stake in the ground and be like, 0 is where what
Yeah.
I'm going to do. But I found the reason that it became easier is because there's things about 0 that really did make my life easier, my team's life easier, and was more seamless. So it was easy to do that. And that's the only thing that you need. Whatever you choose, you just have to be able to stand behind it with conviction.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, draw the line in the sand, whether that's on with software, with your niche, or whatever it is. Just draw the line and say, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm sticking with, and just prove that you're the expert. I mean, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you are. That's what people you're being hired to be the expert in the space. So pick your processes, don't let your clients pick it, and tell them why it's the better process or why you do it.
Yeah. What do you guys have going on in the bookkeepers.com realm? Are you focused on Bookkeeper Launch? Do you have anything new in the works? Tell me all the things.
Yeah, yeah. So we recently recorded a new video for it's a whole lesson, or we're recording a whole bunch of lessons, but we just finished with this one lesson for our AI bookkeeping community. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. With Bookkeeper Launch, we teach, I think it's super important to learn the fundamentals. You have to crawl before you walk, before you run, right? So
Yes.
you can't just go into, I'm going to start a bookkeeping business. Let me figure out how to automate this whole thing. Like, not the way to do it. Figure out your debits, learn your debits, learn your credits, learn how make mistakes, learn how to be a business owner, and then work on automation afterwards. So we have an AI bookkeeping membership, which is outside of Bookkeeper Launch, where we teach you how to automate some things. One of the coolest things that we just did 2 days ago was a video on how to record like loans. So for example, every month you have to record and separate the principal from the interest. And it's one of those things that you can't just you can't just create a recurring journal entry because the interest changes every month from month to month. And so we found a way that you can automate that now using Google Scripts. You just have an amortization table and connect it to a developer account of QuickBooks Online. It literally will read the entire amortization table and post these journal entries for you. And then so when you're going into your transactions, all you have to do is match instead of having to go and create them. It's a
I love
process that takes a little while to create. Like it took us, we went very fast and created it in 1 hour. I think if you're watching it for the first time, it'll probably take you about 3 hours to do it. But if you can implement that with one client, it may save you 5 minutes for that one client for that one loan. But what if you had 10 clients and each client had 2 loans? I mean, all it takes is a couple months before you got your return on your investment of your time, right? So it's
Yeah.
one of those things that's worth it. So in the AI booking community, what we've been doing is trying to figure out ways that we can just automate a lot of the repetitive tasks that come with bookkeeping. And one of the things that I like to say when it comes to AI is that you treat it like a staff member. It's going to make mistakes. So the role of the bookkeeper or the bookkeeping business owner is that of somebody that's reviewing the work of that staff member. Don't treat it like it's perfect because it's not, but you are who's going to go back and review that the automations are working properly. And I think that's really where the industry is headed.
And I love what you said. I made a note. I'm like, we are going to clip this into a social media post, but the walk before you run, like because you are a community of people learning bookkeeping, I'm so grateful that you are making sure they're still learning the debits and the credits and the foundations because I feel the exact same way. And I think that I know a lot of people are afraid of in any industry, honestly, not just ours, but like all the new people coming into the industry from college, like how are they going to learn things? Like, are they going to know what to look for because they never had to do it manually
Yeah.
before? Hopefully our colleges maintain like doing the debits and credits on papers and T accounts and all of that so that people still understand how to fix the AI mistakes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
inevitable. But yeah. So thank you for doing that work.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's super important. And we have students that like are brand new and they see that we have this community and they're like, oh, I'd love to join. And I'm very upfront with them, like, do not join us. Do not join. Like you have to get
Yeah.
your foundations. You have to build that. You have to have a strong foundation. You can't build a house on this like foundation that you've created
Yeah.
in a week, right? Like you have to really learn bookkeeping before you can start to walk and run.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we will link if you're an experienced bookkeeper, what is the like is there like an application or like how do people get into the AI bookkeeping community?
If you just go to bookkeepers.com under courses, there is a link there. Like you'll see all of our courses. One of them is called the AI Bookkeeping Membership. That's probably
Awesome.
the best way to get to it. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to have anybody that is willing to learn. And AI is moving so fast. So like whenever we first recorded lessons, it was before Claude Cowork was out and Claude Code and ChatGPT Work. So, I mean, it's just moving so fast. So you'll watch some of the first lessons, you're like, what the heck is this? But then like you get to the newer ones, you're like, no, like we're always uploading and updating
Yeah.
as things change because our industry is changing and it's changing fast. But yeah, and we're here for the ride.
Yeah. Okay. I have a side question off of that now. How do you keep up with all of that? Do you have people on the team that are dedicated to watching the trends and making sure that they're developing like with the latest and
Yeah.
greatest? Like what is because that just seems like unmanageable to me.
Yeah, and it really is to be honest, it is unmanageable. But one of the good things that we have a great team at bookkeepers.com, and I think everybody but one person in our staff is a student that went through the course. And I think every one of us, except for one person, owns a bookkeeping business. So I'm very privileged to have that kind of staff that is always looking because they're looking to improve their own business. And the fact that we have 18,000 students and we have people saying like, hey, I tried this app. So as soon as I see it on our group, I'm like, oh, well, I need to go look at this app and see what this is all about. The hardest thing I think, and this is I think where I draw the line or where I preach when it comes to AI, is that there's a lot of software that claims AI and they're selling you on AI for bookkeeping and then they'll solve all the problems. But I think most of the tasks that these softwares have created, you can create yourself. You don't have to be a software developer. You don't have to be a genius. I'm not a software developer. I've created apps. That's what you have Claude Code for. You go to Claude Code and say, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. This is what the end result should be. Help me create it. But by the way, I have never created this, so treat me like I'm a child and walk me through everything step by step. And it can really create some of this. Like I talked about the automation we just created, and I mean, the code was like 300 lines long. I would have never created that. I'm not a software developer, but
Yeah.
I know how to ask questions and I know my limitations. And that's, if you're just honest with Claude and tell it where you lack and where you need help, it'll create it for you.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And if anyone is listening and they are like thinking about starting their bookkeeping business, because I know I get a lot of listeners in that realm as well. If you need to learn bookkeeping, like if you haven't found this podcast with prior experience, again, you can go to bookkeepers.com to learn the foundations
Yeah.
in Bookkeeper Launch.
Sorry, I
But
wanted to add for your listeners, we're doing actually an exclusive sale for referral partners for Bookkeeper Launch from August 14th through the 20th. It's $1,000 off for any version of Bookkeeper Launch. So
awesome. We will link that in the show notes so that you guys can take advantage of that if you are ready. And thank you again so much for your time and hanging out with me on the podcast. I'm super excited. I will be in your community in September to run a workshop. I just got another reminder email to send information on that. So I will get to that. And I'm super excited for that. So if you're in the Bookkeeper Launch community, you will see my face on September 1st.
thank you so much for having me, Serena. It's been fun.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shu. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout. And you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.